Hello and welcome to West Country Wanderings. Welcome to one in my Cotswold Walk series. Today we're in Gloucestershire, in the southern part of the county, and I'm just south of the town of Stroud, not actually far from where I live as well. I'm in the village of Avening. In fact, we've been to Avening before to do a monthly vlog. I think it was just before Christmas last year. So there will be a little bit of a tour again here, but there's much more to see in this area. And I make my way over to Cherrington. There's another village there. In fact, there's a lake there, which I've never been to, so I want to have a look at that. But also on the way, there are lots of Neolithic things as well, and odd things marked on the map, of which I have no prior knowledge of. So let's have a wander together and explore together, because I've done no additional research for this video other than playing the route on my OS map app. I'll put the route of today's walk now, so you've got all the stats and how long it is and all of that, and the inclines, etc. I think we cross over part of Minchinhampton Golf Club, and we also touch on the residence of Princess Anne, the Princess Royal, who lives at Gatcombe Park. In fact, she's lived there for many years, right back into the 1970s, but we won't be crossing over her land today though. But yeah, I hope you can join me here again on West Country Wanderings for another walk in the Cotswolds. So I'm still in the graveyard here at the moment, beautiful, quiet, and I've got my cup of tea before we set off. We're going to be heading north out of the village, following a track called Steps Lane. And along that track, it says that there's a long barrow. I don't know anything about the long barrow, so we're going to head up there and have a look at that. But yeah, we're heading out of the graveyard now and to the north of the village of Avening here in Gloucestershire. So we're now going to make our way up Rectory Lane, up here where we'll join Steps Lane. Well, Rectory Lane is a delight, so peaceful and quiet. I'm not filming this early on a morning, as you might think. This is actually mid-afternoon on a Sunday afternoon, but it's very peaceful. It may be a little bit busier during the week as people go about their general day-to-day business, but here, wow, this is wonderful. It really is delightful. I actually read in the press, I think it was online probably, popped up on my feed, I think it popped up on Microsoft feed, to do with a well-known village, which I won't mention where it is, but if you've seen this article you know what I'm talking about, where they're completely overrun with tourists. And yeah, I find that a bit strange and also sad, because there are lots of places in the West Country, and certainly here in the Cotswolds, where you can find peace and quiet and barely see another soul, like we're here today in Avening. Just spotted this seat here, which is going to afford us some views over the village. Yeah, and they had trouble with parking there, and crowds and people pushing and shoving. Just seems so sad. But yeah, so if you subscribe to the channel, you'll find delightful places like this, which are equally as good as the well-known places. We have an orchard here, and we've got views going right down into the Avening Valley. Just up the top of the Avening Valley is the town of Tetbury, probably a more well-known town here in the Cotswolds. But yeah, this is an absolute pleasure and a delight. So currently in Steps Lane now, left Rectory Lane, and in this wooded area, there's woods all over that side. Some buildings over this side which are now derelict. Looks like an old hotel, well not old, probably built in the 50s maybe, all derelict but all fenced off. I don't know what that was. If you know Avening at all, perhaps you can drop a comment below. If you like our statistics, we're around about 157 metres above sea level at this point, and when we get to the top of the path, once we pass the Tingle Stone, then we get to 175 metres, and we'll be making our way along Minchinhampton Golf Club. Now if you're doing this walk and you do have time, you can actually access those woods I talked about by going down this path here. So it's like a 270 degree bend of Steps Lane itself, and that takes you into the woods. Unfortunately I don't have time for that today, but we're going to make our way continuing along to the top of Steps Lane here. So now looking down into the Gatcombe Park estate. Beautiful estate. As I say, it's the home of Princess Anne, but we're not going intruding on her privacy. And Art Lane continues north along here, and it's changed somewhat since you last saw me, because now it's no longer woodland. We're on the high wolds here, so it's bare limestone as we've left the trees behind us. And on the opposite side of the footpath we have this, which I think is Steps Barn. It's a derelict barn now, but I think it's also part of the Gatcombe estate, but it's no longer used or required, and it's certainly dating back probably, well I'd like to hazard a guess, probably 200, 300, maybe 400 years old. Delightful to see that. It has a ruined outbuilding to the right of it. There is a slightly odd feature here above the Gatcombe Park estate. Can you help me out? This is a dry stone wall, Cotswold stone wall, with this overlaid on the top of it, and it's in like a curve. Was it there to house some kind of plaque or mural? It's certainly, if it did, the plaque or mural is long gone now, but you have traditional Cotswold stone underneath it. Answer us in the comments in the usual way below if you have an idea. It really is quite a splendid view there across the valley and the whole of the Gatcombe Park estate. The weather forecast is a little bit unpredictable today. I heard on the radio there's a storm coming up from France across the English Channel, and one of the regular listeners to the radio station I listen to, actually, if you're interested, I'd kind of dive in between BBC Radio Somerset and another station covers the 3 counties called Sunshine Radio, and one of their regular listeners is actually on holiday in Jersey at the moment, and it was gushing it down with heavy rain and lightning there this afternoon. It's very much high Cotswolds here. Looks like we have another abandoned barn here on the edge of the Gatcombe Park estate. I don't know the history of the estate. All I know, marriage to Captain Mark Phillips, Princess Anne. When was that? 1973. I think we got a day off school, and I think she started to live here shortly afterwards. But other than that, I know nothing about it, so I'll find something out and scroll across the bottom of the screen now about Gatcombe Park. But yeah, not a soul up here at all. Delightful. Now, it says here that there are long barrows, and I wouldn't mind betting if that's one of them. I wonder if our Tingle Stone is over there. There is a gate. It doesn't say it's private, although it's not strictly part of our right of way. This is our track here on the right. I've been walking along that. But I'll just pan back so you can see. So there's a gate here which you can open, and I think our Tingle Stone is over in that direction. So let's just go and have a quick look. So I've now made my way to those clump of trees you saw. At the top of the clump of trees, I think we have found our Tingle Stone. You can also make out other stones that were once here. In fact, this Tingle Stone, from what I've just managed to glean from a website, I'll include a link to it in the description of today's video, is one of the only pieces of stone left of this long barrow that was once here. So here it is, one Tingle Stone. I don't know whether you're supposed to get a tingle or not if you touch it, so let's just try. No, nothing. No electric shocks or tingling sensations, I'm afraid, but it's wonderful to see that. I have covered, well, I was at Avening, wasn't I, in Wiltshire, looking at those magnificent stones there, and there's many dotted across the Cotswolds, although they're not as dramatic as the ones that are on Bodmin Moor in Cornwall and the ones in the North Wessex Downs of Wiltshire, but they are still well worth seeking out. In fact, the one in North Wessex Downs there in Avebury is actually linked to this part of the Cotswolds because a lot of the stone there came from this part of the world. Of course, the mystery is, how did it get there? Well, we don't really know. But anyway, this is the Tingle Stone here in Gatcombe Park. Now I'm going to return back to the footpath, make our way back across towards the next village. So Steps Lane, I've just been wandering about wondering about my wander. I think originally would have been probably the original coach route from the village of Avening to the next village to the north, which is Minchinhampton, with its large National Trust common there. And the road from Avening to Minchinhampton now goes a little bit further to the east. Yeah, that direction. You probably hear the traffic, and we'll be linking up with that road shortly. It comes out of an edge of the village of Minchinhampton called Hampton Fields, where there's a bit of a crossroads. Several roads meet on the common there, but we're not going into Minchinhampton today. We're going to be doubling back and heading down by the golf course. But Steps Lane itself is really delightful because it affords beautiful views across the park, and it's peaceful and quiet as well. So we're now at the highest point on our walk, 175 metres above sea level, as we're on the edge of Hampton Fields, which is in turn on the edge of Minchinhampton, and that's the road that heads back to Avening behind me. I love these old stiles. They're hundreds of years old, and they're old boundary fences marking old boundaries between various fields for where sheep would be grazing. Always a delight to see. So I've just stopped at this next stile actually, because over this stile is Minchinhampton Golf Course, and I don't really want to stop on there because of, dodging the golf balls. I'm not a big fan of walking over golf courses for obvious reasons, so I'll make our way quickly on there. But there is an interesting feature on the golf course, and it's called Norm's Tump. Again, I don't know much about it, so explore that even and discover that together. If I find any information, I'll put it in the usual way and there's a subtitle. I'm just stopping here for some water, and just if you're doing walks, if you get a chance to sit down or stop, just take your backpack off and grab some water. It's always a good idea to do so before you start to feel thirsty. So just take a sip frequently and often, rather than sitting down having a massive gulp and only having one or two stops of water on a walk. Particularly a wander one, and particularly on a warmer day like it is today, because we had that storm. It's very, very humid today. I think it's up to about 24-25 degrees. The sun isn't out strong. It's very, very hazy, watery light, but it is very, very humid with that storm. You can feel that there is something in the air, and if I needs be, I can return quickly to my car evening in the next section if it does start to chuck it down. If not, we will continue on to the village of Cherrington, so hopefully it'll remain dry. So always good to have a bit of water. See you in a bit. Well, this here, actually literally in the middle of the golf course, although there's no players on this section here at the moment, I'm watching very carefully, is Norm's Tump. As I say, I don't know anything about it, but as I say, if I can find anything out, I'll put it in the usual way. It is odd to see this great big lump here, which isn't like finely grassed over, which you would normally expect to see on a golf course, but roughly hewn and with little shrubs and trees on the top of it. And so this is obviously a feature from Neolithic times, I think. And I'll try and find something out for you, and hopefully that'll have appeared or is appearing now along the bottom of your screens. But enjoying the walk. We need to turn around now, so golf course still over there. It's a big golf course and a very posh clubhouse, but I didn't really want to show it or take my camera out with all the golfers around. Quite busy because it's a Sunday afternoon and it's dry. So we're going to head down there. It is actually quite well marked, the footpath, because you look for those posts with the yellow paint on the top of them. So just straight down there. This is now when we're making our descent. So remember I said we were 175 metres. We're now going to be dropping down into the Cherrington Valley. So we have now left Minchinhampton Golf Course, which I'm relieved about. I know some of you probably do play golf, but golfers and walkers don't really mix. It can be a little bit dangerous, so I have my eyes around it. Now this piece of land here is open access land. I don't know who looks after it, whether it's Gloucestershire Wildlife Trust or it's the local parish here in Avening. I don't really know. So we're dropping down quite steeply now, so we're coming down probably some 50 metres off the top there from Minchinhampton Golf Course, and then we're going to make our way kind of left following the minor road to Cherrington. It goes near a place called the Nag's Head. Now I don't think it's anything to do with Only Fools and Horses though, so I don't think it's a pub. I think it's just a little hamlet out on the edge of Cherrington, and then we'll go and have a look at the Cherrington Pond before we make our circular loop to complete today's shorter Cotswold Walk here in the beautiful Cotswolds. Well, I've just come through that, and no, I'm not going to film it because I'd probably look completely undignified. I actually had to put my camera down on the top level there because it's a steep drop. You've got those, well, looks like tiles, a pile of tiles there. It is actually quite a drop down as you go through the gate there and drop down into the road level, which is right down here. So now we're going to make our way along there. So this is the little hamlet just outside Cherrington called Nag's Head. I don't think I've ever been here before. Million miles away from London Only Fools and Horses. In fact, I think Only Fools and Horses was partially filmed in the West Country, wasn't it? Because it was filmed in Bristol. Some of the tower block scenes weren't in southeast London, but in good old Bristol. But yeah, I digress. Here we are at Nag's Head, here in the Cotswolds. Now there is a plaque here. This hamlet made up in 1914 of 18 houses sent an incredible 17 of its young men, that must have been all of them I would imagine, from this hamlet here in Gloucestershire in the Cotswolds to defend our country, and sadly 7 of them lost their lives in World War I. John Bridgman, Jesse Robbins, Frank Locke, Albert Ayres, Charles Eldridge, Frederick Townsend and Frederick Tanner. Also Percy Porter, who lost his life in the Second World War, aged 33. Lest we forget. And underneath that plaque is a Queen Victoria postbox, just inset into the wall. It still has a collection every day, 9 AM, 7 o'clock on Saturdays. And that looks like that was originally the Nag's Head, presumably the pub. There's a little bit of stone masonry on the right there. Let's just have a quick look at that. Oh, that's beautiful. Anyway, we're going to make our way continuing along this lane, delightfully quiet, till we get to Cherrington. Now, we have a choice on our walk today. We can either continue into the heart of the village, following the road, or we can go off to the left through the wood, which will take us to Cherrington Pond. Well, you kind of can get to Cherrington Pond using the road as well. But yeah, it doesn't really make any difference. So I thought I'd go through the wood and then get up to Cherrington Pond, and then we'll catch up with the church later before we head back to Avening. I'm glad I chose the woodland option. I can actually hear a couple of owls hooting at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. So that's a bit strange. About another 4 hours before it starts to get dark, I think. But most delightful. Now I've hit the shutter, or rather the record switch for the video. It'll probably they'll probably stop now, so I probably won't be able to capture any audio of it. But yeah, it's a wonderful point. I can just see the silver of Cherrington Pond down there. I'm going to stop there to finish my lunch. Well, I had a bit of lunch when I set off. I'm going to finish it. I know it's 4 o'clock, but yeah, so that's just down there. So I thought that'd be a nice spot to do that before we make our way back. But I will show you that properly first. This is beautiful Cherrington Pond. Most wonderful sight. It seems a lot bigger than a pond to me. Not sure why it's called a pond rather than a lake, but yeah, it's just a most delightful spot here in the Cotswolds. Well, I've just checked my phone. I don't like checking my phone apart from using the map app, of course, so I know exactly where I am. And the weather is changing in. That rumble of thunder, which I heard in the distance, is getting gradually closer and closer and closer, and it's saying that there should be rain, or probably be rain, in the next 30 minutes. So I'm going to cut the walk short today. I'm going to make my way back out of Cherrington Pond there. I'm sorry I didn't get up to the church. If I've got time though, I will return to my car in Avening and see if I can drive over there. Include that at the end of the video, making no promises, because if it comes down in a torrent I won't be able to film there when I get over there. So we're going to make our way back a little bit further before we close the video off. But it's been a most delightful walk, although a little bit sticky with the very high humidity here in the Cotswolds today. I'll catch up with you in a bit. Well, I'm afraid the sky is darkening and those rumbles of thunder in the distance are getting closer and louder and louder. So I'm going to wrap today's video up here in the Cotswolds near the village of Avening. So I'm walking back to my car now. Probably about 10 minutes walk to get to my car. Hope the rain holds off till then. As I say, if you stick around, there may be something from Cherrington Church at the end of the video. But if it comes down in torrent, I won't be driving over there. And I'll save that one for another day. Hope you enjoyed the walk today on my Cotswold series here on West Country Wanderings. Until next time, take care of yourselves, look after yourselves, and I hope to see you on the channel again very, very soon. All the best for now. Bye bye.